All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest topics in tech, big data. And we're not just going to throw the buzzword around. We're going to break down exactly how you can use the toolkit on Amazon Web Services to turn what feels like a chaotic flood of information into something you can actually use, something that gives you real answers.
And just so you know where we're getting our info, we're pulling all of this straight from the source, the official AWS white paper on big data analytics. So think of this as getting the map directly from the people who built the entire territory.
You know, this question really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? The problem with big data isn't just having a lot of it. The real challenge is finding the handful of answers that actually matter, hidden somewhere inside that massive sea of digital noise. So, to make this whole thing easier to understand, we're going to frame it as a journey. We're going to follow the exact path that data takes, from the moment it's created as just raw, messy noise, all the way to the point where it becomes powerful, clear knowledge. And we'll see how it's all done inside the AWS cloud. But first, we really have to wrap our heads around the scale of the problem. We are living in a total data deluge. I mean, information is being created so fast and in such huge amounts that the old traditional tools, they just can't keep up. It's why we need a completely new approach. Just think about your average day. Every single click on a website, every line of code in an app's log file, every little signal from a smartwatch or a smart thermostat, all of it adds up. It's this constant, kind of overwhelming flood of information that needs to be captured and somehow understood. So, you've got this flood of data coming at you. Where do you even begin? Well, the first step on our journey is what we call ingestion. Makes sense, right? Before we can do anything cool with the data, we have to actually collect it and get it into the AWS cloud safely. And a huge chunk of this data is what's known as streaming data. This isn't like downloading a single big file. It's more like a river, a continuous flow of tiny little packets of information coming from thousands of different sources, all at the same time, in real time. So how do you handle that? Well, this is where a tool like Amazon Kinesis comes in. The best way to think of it is like a massive, reinforced front door that's built specifically for this streaming data. It's designed to let you capture all that real-time info from thousands of sources at once, and it starts processing it the instant it arrives, not hours or days later. It can handle basically anything, from simple website clicks to really high-stakes financial transactions. Okay, so the data's to the front door. Now what? It needs a place to live. And that brings us to the second stage of our journey, building our base camp. This is where we're going to store and organize everything, getting it ready for the big expedition ahead. The go-to solution for this nowadays is something called a data lake, and on AWS, that's almost always built using Amazon S3. The big idea here is flexibility. It's one central place where you can dump all of your data. It doesn't matter if it's perfectly structured in a database or totally unstructured, like images or text files. And you can store as much as you want. A really good analogy for a data lake is to think of it like a giant library. It's amazing because you can store every book, every document, every piece of information you can imagine. But if you don't have a card catalog to tell you what's in there and where it is, it's really just a giant, useless pile of paper. You'd never be able to find anything. And this slide right here, this is basically our map for this stage. You can see the raw data flowing into our data lake, which is Amazon S3 on the left. But look at that crucial piece in the middle, the AWS Glue Data Catalog. That's our card catalog. It's the thing that makes all that raw, messy data discoverable and actually usable by the analysis tools over on the right. So yeah, if S3 is the library, then AWS Glue is our super smart librarian. What it does is it automatically sends out these little crawlers to go through everything in your data lake. They figure out what's there, guess its structure or its schema, and then create that unified data catalog. That catalog is exactly what your analysis tools need to know what data you have and where to find it. All right, our data is in, it's stored, and it's all cataloged. Now it's time for the really exciting part, the expedition for insight. This is where we actually process and analyze the data to find the answers we're looking for. And just like any good expedition, you've got to have the right tools for the job. And on AWS, you've basically got two main ways to explore. Let's say you have a quick, simple question you need an answer to right now, like, hey, how many users from Germany visited our site today? For that, you'd use a tool like Amazon Athena. It lets you run standard SQL queries right on top of your data in S3. Super fast. But For the really heavy-duty, complex jobs like, I need to analyze 5 years of user behavior to predict who's going to cancel their subscription, you need the big guns. And that's a service like Amazon EMR, which uses powerful frameworks like Apache Spark to crunch just enormous amounts of data. So we've climbed the mountain, and we've found our insights. But the journey's not quite over. Because honestly, the most brilliant data analysis in the world is completely useless if nobody can understand it. So the final step is reaching the summit, turning those complicated findings into clear visuals that people can use to make actual decisions. You know, this quote from Carly Fiorina just sums it up perfectly. We used all these tools to turn raw data into structured information. But this last step, this is all about turning that information into real, actionable insight. And the AWS tool for this job is Amazon QuickSight. It's what's called a business intelligence or BI service, and it's designed specifically to bring your data to life. It helps you build these beautiful interactive dashboards with charts and graphs, and it connects directly to all the data sources we've been talking about. And what's really cool is it's powered by this thing called the Spice engine, which is a super fast, in-memory system that makes exploring all your visuals incredibly quick and responsive. Okay, so let's zoom out and recap the whole journey. What we've just walked through isn't some single magic button you press. It's a complete toolkit, right? It's an end-to-end process where each of these services plays its own very specific, very critical role. And this right here is really the key takeaway. You can boil this entire complex process down to these 4 logical stages. Step 1, you ingest the data, maybe with Kinesis. Step 2, you store and catalog it using S3 and Glue. Step 3, you process and analyze it with the right tool for the job, like Athena or EMR. And finally, step 4, you visualize those answers with QuickSight so you can turn them into real action. So there you have it, a clear path through what can seem like the overwhelming complexity of big data. And it really just leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know the path, now that you see how to get from raw data to real answers, what questions would you ask?